going on, YouTube? It's EK here, and today, as you can see, I have 4 tips for you for controller beginners. So that's for those of you who are maybe still adjusting to controllers, or you're thinking of moving from mouse and keyboard onto a controller. So I have 4 tips for you that can definitely should help you in your controller journey. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So tip number 1 is to play games with bullet sponge targets. Now, why do you want to do this? Well, number 1 thing is to essentially helps with controlling recoil under sustained fire. So one of the main things in Warzone is that you're going to be holding down fire, automatic fire onto most of your enemies, and generally, they take a lot more bullets to kill than you would say in normal multiplayer, right? So one thing you want to do is really learn how to control recoil when you're under sustained fire. And I found what really worked for me was just playing games where enemies were just bullet sponges. You had to unload mag after mag of bullets into enemies while they're moving around, and you're still trying to control recoil. That helped me a lot in terms of being able to control recoil within Warzone itself. 2 games that helped me really well was Division 2 and Destiny 2. Now, Destiny 2 is free, so you can just download that right now and just start playing it. A lot of the enemies in there, especially the bosses, are generally bullet sponges, and some of the more elite enemies are bullet sponges too. So you should be able to get some good practice in here with that, and it's free. Division 2 is also a good choice. It's more of since it is a third-person shooter, so it might be a little more wonky because you're not really when you ADS, it's over the shoulder. But similarly, they have a lot of bullet sponge enemies there too, so you can use those to kind of practice your strafing. Enemies within Division 2 run around all the time, so you can practice the headshots. You can practice a lot playing Division 2. Granted, it's not free, but you can probably get it for pretty cheap now since it is a pretty old game. So hopefully these 2 games, or any other games that have enemies are just bullet sponges, they'll help you really control your recoil when you're using sustained fire. Number 2, controller with back buttons. Now, this is also will be a huge benefit for those of you just getting into controllers, because you're already having to learn a completely new system. You might as well throw some buttons on the back to help you get used to it. Because for me, I'm not a net new controller player previously, so it took me a while to actually get used to playing with back buttons. I had to kind of remind myself not to push my normal button pad and push the back buttons instead, to do certain actions like jump or something like that. And now so that took me about like a week or 2. But for those of you who maybe have played very little to no controller before, just get a controller with back buttons so that you're already getting used to it. It would definitely be more of a learning curve if you got used to a regular controller and then added back buttons. You kind of have to relearn stuff. So it's best not to do that, right? Another good reason to have back buttons is it utilizes more than just 4 fingers, right? Because typically on a controller, on any normal controller, you have your 2 thumbs to move and aim, and then you have your index fingers to shoot and stuff, and then you interchange the buttons however you see fit as you play, right? Well, you still have 6 other fingers that you're not utilizing, whereas on a mouse and keyboard, you're utilizing probably at least 8 or 9 fingers at any given time, or at least you can do that. So utilizing more than just 4 fingers is going to help you just kind of assign tasks to a certain finger, like you would when you're playing mouse and keyboard, right? Like you can have your thumb do something, your index finger do something, and your middle finger do something. Similarly, when you have back buttons, you can just you can train yourself to have your other fingers do more actions, and that way your thumb is not doing 4 different things at once. So this is going to help you a lot in terms of being able to kind of acclimate over to a controller. Also, it keeps the thumbs on thumbsticks. Most people will tell you that, you know, when you're playing FPS shooters on a controller, your thumbs never want to leave the thumbsticks ever, like at least as little as humanly possible, because you never know when you need to like turn around or move or jump or whatever. You want to keep your thumbs always on your thumbsticks to move around. So you generally want to, so having back buttons will help you do that, because you're not going to have to, you know, your right thumb won't have to leave the thumbstick just to go jump, to reload, to switch weapons, whatever, right? Like this is going to help you keep on that a lot. And you can essentially multitask, you know, whether it's, you know, bunny hopping and shooting, whether it's sliding or whatever, you know, you have, or like a quicker way to melee someone instead of moving your thumb around. Now have buttons that you can press in an instant instead of moving your thumb around. So all that stuff just keeps your thumbs on the thumbsticks where it matters the most. And you know, in terms of controllers, you know, you can obviously get stuff like the DualSense Edge or the Xbox Elite. You know, I have both of those, and both of those are great. If you don't want to pay for, say, a SCUF or AIM controller, all those are really great options. However, they can be pricey if you don't have a budget for it. So what you can do is just, if you have a PS4 controller, get a back button attachment to it so that you can still use back buttons without having to shell out over $100 for one of these controllers. Because they can be pricey, but I can guarantee you they're going to be very well worth it. And if you're learning something, you might as well just learn the back buttons now, you know, like I said earlier. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3, thumbstick extenders. So these are really great, as they make obviously the thumbsticks a little bit taller. Now, why do you want this? For me, what I saw, but this doesn't necessarily pertain to everybody. Now, if you're seeing yourself as you're, you know, playing through a game, and you see that you are overcorrecting a lot of times, where, you know, you're trying to swing left or swing right, and you find yourself kind of aiming a little too much, you know, passing your target, and then you have to autocorrect back, and now you're like going back and forth and stuff. What can help is actually making your right stick or your aim stick, when you make it longer, it helps with you making those micro adjustments, because essentially you have to push farther in order to move your camera to the target. So if you're pushing kind of aggressively, you know, sometimes what happens is that you push it to the point where you don't stop until you realize you've gone too far. With extenders, it kind of helps mediate that without you having to need to essentially change your sensitivity, right? I mean, you could just change your sensitivity to lower, but then what you end up with when you do that is now you start turning much slower than you really want to. So, you know, a lot of pro players, or even just, you know, halfway decent players, they play on a relatively higher, like 6 or above sensitivity. Now, if you want those micro adjustments without having to turn down your sensitivity on your joysticks, extenders are the way to go. You might only need one in terms of, you know, to manipulate the right side. You don't really need it on the left side unless you really want to, in terms of movement. But when it comes to aiming, thumbsticks and extenders are great for it. Now, if you're gonna get something like a DualSense Edge or an Xbox Elite controller, it comes with different length thumbsticks already, so you don't have to get this. So just FYI, in case you do get one of those, they already come with different lengths, so you don't have to worry about that. Last but not least is number 4, is to practice without aim assist on. That's right. So this might sound counterintuitive, but trust me, like, if you really want to feel how strong aim assist is, play Plunder or whatever game without any aim assist, and then just completely turn it off and you will see just how much it helps, you know. And but when you do this, say like, you know, you just practice without aim assist on, what this can help essentially help with is it helps with the micro adjustments, you know. So when you are aiming around and it's all manual, it's up to you to really get your crosshair onto your target, right? So by doing this, the more you practice with this, the better you get over time. Obviously, this is not going to be very easy to do, but you know, as the more you practice, the better you're going to get eventually. So, so one, improves aiming, improves micro adjustments, and improves aiming. So, you know, once you get used to this, and once you can kind of get a handful of kills, you know, relatively like without too much stress on yourself, like, then you turn back aim assist, and then you'll see just how powerful aim assist is. And when it can assist you now, like, you know, you can make essentially, you don't you still make those micro adjustments due to muscle memory, but now with aim assist on, like, it's gonna be that much more accurate. And I promise you, like, this is gonna make a huge difference as long as you just put in the time and effort to it. But of course, if you don't have the time, then, you know, you can kind of skip number 4, do 1, 2, and 3. You know, maybe if you're like a much older player like I am, who doesn't have like all day to just practice on video games, then, you know, number 4 may not be the most time friendly method, but number 1, 2, and 3 is definitely the way for you to go. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Let me know if these tips help you, and let me know if you want to see more videos like these in the future. All right, take it easy, folks.